Before we get into today's episode, there is some breaking news that we had to report. 3 U.S. troops were killed and at least 25 others were wounded in an attack by an Iranian-backed militia, according to officials. These are the first U.S. troops to have been killed in the Israeli-Hamas conflict. Our thoughts and prayers are with those affected by this and to the men and women who serve and defend this country, keeping us safe and keeping us free. Biden said that the U.S. will hold all of those responsible in a time and manner of the U.S.'s choosing. And I just want to again send my thoughts and prayers to everybody who has lost their life defending our country. And thank you for keeping us safe to the troops that are out there. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekly dose of PCP Recap Selects. I'm your host, Red and Blue, and to my right is Larry X. We're going to get into a lot of good things, a lot of interesting things this week. So sit back, relax, and So did you see anything that happened this week that, got your attention?
I guess like a couple things. I guess this week, finally went to go see a live show. Live recording, Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, I was there, so yeah.
Oh yeah, you were there. Yeah. Also, I think the MTA, they added like these barricades, to keep us safe,
I saw that,
keep us very secure.
Yeah, that's the best safety measures I ever seen.
Very. And I guess, just paying attention a little bit to, Maine, the stock.
Yeah, you talked about Maine last week, I remember. So
yeah, no, I guess
hopefully that's going well for you.
We'll find out today. Yeah, and what about you?
Just the migrant situation that's been going on with like Eric Adams trying to evict migrants and everything. So that's what caught my attention pretty much this week.
Okay. Yeah, so it sounds like it's going to be a good episode today.
Yeah.
Episode 2
to talk about.
Yep.
Yeah, so the Stephen Colbert show that we went to, it was your idea to go. So how did you like the experience?
It was actually a lot better than I thought it would be. Because when I got the tickets, there was a lot of emphasis speaking about like, this is a recording, you're here as an audience for the show itself, for like, you're going to be a part of millions of people. So I knew from off the bat that it was like, we weren't going to be the priority. It's not like going to a comedy show or anything like that. It's I guess for lack of better words, like we're just props, living, breathing props pretty much. And what about you?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned like it's not like going to a comedy show, even though for the warm-up for the Stephen Colbert show, me and Larry X were brought on stage by a comedian. I forget his name, but I'll put his name in his handle at some point in this video. It'll be in the description below. And yeah, that was a very unique experience, just being on the stage of the Late Show in front of all the people there and having to like answer questions from a comedian like in front of everybody. So, for me, since I do suffer with anxiety, it was a really different experience, but it was better than I thought. Also, at the Stephen Colbert show, I got to learn a lot about production, like what goes into like producing a show. So that's something that I want to be able to use for my future as it relates to my company. So yeah, it was a good experience for me.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, like I think, like it was interesting seeing like all the camera work and everything. Like all the equipment. Like I remember like seeing like there was like this huge ass camera that was, and I think like the guy was like moving like his arms, and it was like, I thought it was just, putting a camera, but no, it's like you really have to, like, it's actual work. Like it's, and so much is like, I felt it, like it felt like so much was at stake. And then like, but it was beautiful too, seeing like, it was like a whole bunch of gears moving for like this big machine.
Yeah. Definitely a tough job. Definitely, I hope they do get paid well, because they have to be on point with everything that they do. And like, it's amazing how they put all of that together just to make a 1 hour episode.
Yeah,
that's less with commercials. So the amount of work that goes into just making any type of video, just like even for us, like the editing is way more than just the final product. So yeah. Yeah, so going back to the Stephen Colbert show, they had a musical guest by somebody that everybody knows very well, Andre 3000. Did you think Do you have any thoughts on like the interview that he had with Andre 3000?
It was actually really good. Like I really liked the interview. Yeah, like it almost seemed like yeah, like it wasn't Andre wasn't like the type of person like I guess I would see like on TV. It felt like Andre was more of just, just a regular person just on the stage. And then Stephen Colbert, it almost felt like he was like a physician almost. Like he was the one telling Andre, like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, this is how it's gonna be, you have any questions, blah blah blah, like, like really making him comfortable. And yeah, and then overall, like, it was like they did talk about like a lot of interesting things that I guess like I wish was on the TV show, but it actually wasn't. There were like, for example, like one of the things that they talked about was, why Andre, I think he brought a flute. Like, so pretty much it was like, why the hell did you bring a flute and stuff like that? And I think he was talking about like he was changing up his life. Like he was known as like a rapper and all that. He was part of Outkast. And no, it's like he went like on a spiritual journey. He tried ayahuasca. And then, Steven started talking about like, oh, I've never tried ayahuasca, but I've tried mushrooms. And then I was like, wow, like this is actually really interesting. And then, yeah, like they were just talking about like a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know, but what did you think?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was just happy to like see somebody that was brought music, like good music to my childhood. So I was just more of just being happy to be in the presence of somebody who, is part of that musical era instead of the musical era that we have now. So I was just appreciating that aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I guess like the only thing I think about with Andre 3000 is like Class of 3000, like the show on Cartoon Network. So yeah, that was like one of those things that's like, in a way it's like I felt like, wow, like we really are growing up, because
Yeah.
I was like, damn, this guy has gray hair now. Like shit.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. Like I when I saw the show, I had a full head of hair. Now here I am with like thinning hair. It's like shit. Like time is really going fast.
Yeah. So the only thing I will say is like when you listen to his Flu album, No Bars, you have to like be in a particular type of mood to like listen to it. I was not at the time, and it got kind of annoying towards the end because I was like, that's how they ended the show, and I'm like, at that point, I was ready to go to sleep. I already had a long day, but it is something I want to listen to like when I'm under the influence. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, like I remember hearing like one of the songs on Spotify before the show, and I'm not gonna lie, like I remember when I saw like, oh shit, Andre 3000 is gonna be on the show. This is gonna be awesome. But then I remembered, crap. What was the last thing that he played? Because it said too that he was gonna perform. I was like, oh, don't tell me it's that flute crap. But then when like watching it live, like I guess like I realized like it's not bad. It's definitely like an acquired taste. And at the same time, it's also, he talked about it during his interview also, that he wanted to like change up from like what people view him as, which confirmed, because it's like when I saw 100,000, I think, Outkast, all this other stuff, but it's like, no, like he wants to try something new, and honestly, more power to him.
Yeah, I think a lot of artists like struggle with how people see them, and people expect that they're only this one type of artist, when like a lot of good artists are like versatile. And like as an artist for myself, like I like showing my versatility. I don't want to just do one genre for like ever. Like there's other things that I'm good at musically that people don't know about other than my close friends or whatever. But yeah, I definitely understand the struggle of like trying to change people's perception of you. So
yeah, like it's crazy. Like I think like there's like that saying that's like there's like multiple masks that we wear.
yeah,
It's like the one that's like the mask that like the perspective that people view you as, the one that you see yourself as, and then the one that you actually are.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, and that seeing Andre like that was it was definitely a confirmation. Like it was, in a way, I guess it's like, I want to like, it sounds selfish, but it's like, yeah, like I want to see, out like the Outcast version of Andre, like that. Like, that music was good, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's, he is a human being. He's more than just an artist, and if that's the route that he wants to take, then that's the route that he should take.
Oh.
And I guess before like we go to like the next segment, there is one thing that I forgot talking about that I guess really hits a home.
Mm-hmm.
It was part of the things that were cut out from the actual show when they played it at night. And it was that, I guess, Stephen Colbert, he asked like these like 15 questions, almost like a game of like 20 questions in a way. And one of them was pretty much like asking Andre his perspective of like, what happens after you die. And I remember Andre's answer was that he believes that it's like that we're all and like energy, like that whole thing about like how energy can't be destroyed. It just transforms into something else. Yeah. So I remember like pretty much what he said was that that our energy, it returns back to the universe. And I don't know, I think that kind of like hit close to home, because I think that's sort of like a perspective that I've been, I guess, thinking about like my beliefs and like the meaning of life, as I grow older. So it was pretty cool seeing that, Andre thinking that way too. Like, it's like, like I'm not the only one. And on top of that, it's like, it's Andre 3000. Jeez. It's like, yeah.
So yeah, speaking of guests on the Stephen Colbert show, there was another guest, Jelani Cobb. Did you have anything for like, he's like a journalist and, he has his own like university that he tries to run or whatever, anything? Yeah,
like I think from the show, that he's the dean of journalism at Columbia University. And yeah, like it was actually really interesting seeing him. Like I think one thing that Stephen talked about, or that he asked him, is that pretty much like, with like the media these days, that, people are losing trust in the media, except for comedians, which, it was a joke that he said, but in a way it's kind of true. Like, it's like, for example, like when Dave Chappelle talks about like,
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. Like Dave Chappelle's like, it's like, this guy's a comic, but he's speaking some facts and shit like that when I watch like his shows.
Gen Z's go to cancel us, but it's all right.
Any publicity is good publicity. That's all I can. Well, to an extent. I mean, but either way, just gotta. This is the point of PCP, baby. They don't. Maybe you don't like us, but we're gonna earn your trust because this is legit. Until we get sponsors, then we might be legit. But what did you think?
One of the things that like he mentioned was like like where you mentioned like trust. That is a big issue that we have now in our country more than anything when it comes to like the press. Nobody trusts any source. And yeah, you don't know what's real anymore. For like, as far as reporting, you don't know what news is real because everybody's doing journalism, quote unquote journalism, but their motive is for money and to just push their agenda. So you don't know what's real.
Yeah.
And because of that, people are more divided than ever because there's no real guidance on what to follow. Because like I said, nobody knows what's real.
Yeah. Like, I'm starting to remember now, but there was one thing that I think Jelani said that, I guess like paraphrasing, was that I guess when you decide to make journalism your career, it's to not expect to be liked.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's definitely like one thing, because I feel like being a journalist, at least like a very like fair and impartial, unbiased journalist, is that when you give the hard questions, it's like you also have to do that with the people that you do like, that you don't have a bias for. Because yeah, it's like, like if for example, if someone is sitting across the room right now and it's like, I don't give a shit about what this person, I'm going to ask him everything. I'm going to fucking grill him. But then imagine it's like, it's your best friend. Are you going to do the same thing?
We'll see. No, anyway.
I mean, as a journalist, I hope so. And I think that's like the general idea that, Jelani Cobb was talking about. So I think it's definitely like more than just like, a Democrat or Republican issue when it comes to like the media and the press.
Yeah, you see it on MSNBC, you see it on Fox News and CNN. Like, depending on who's hosting a show and who they had to interview, they'll ask a different set of questions. So, yeah, it's just an issue that we have just in the country at least. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. And then I think one thing that Stephen said, like close to like the end, was I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think like he was joking around, but the way that he said it, like live, that part I'm not sure if it was cut, but if it was, it like I felt like a sort of like sincerity, and it kind of like scared me in a way. That it was like, does Stephen like even know what he's talking about like during these shows?
I mean, you could look at it like mainstream media news outlets. Most of the anchors don't know what they're talking about. They're reading a teleprompter prepared by a group of people, and they're assuming that it is factual. And sometimes it's not factual, and they have to correct it later if they decide to. But yeah, a lot of the people that you see on TV, they're just following what somebody told them to say. And yeah, so he could very well not know anything that he's talking about, because he had a whole staff of people that makes the itinerary of like what he's supposed to do, who he's supposed to interview. They had to research their background.
Yeah. Yeah. Like during the entire show that was like recorded when I saw last night, it was nothing compared to like live. Like what I saw live, that's what I want to watch. I want to watch like Steven and Andre talk about like their experiences with ayahuasca and mushrooms, and the 15 questions that Steven asked them about, the meaning of life, your perspective on death. That was not on the show. That was cut. And then on top of that, when Steven said, I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, I don't know. In a way, it kind of scared me. That's like, I don't know.
All right, so moving on to our next segment, the MTA put up these barricades at 191st Street on the one line. They are the safest barricades I've ever seen. We're definitely ahead of every other country when it comes to like security and safety, when it comes to like transportation. Mm-hmm. And I'm very happy our tax dollars went to that.
Yeah, it's I think there was an article that was posted that I found. It was from a website called 6squarefeet.com. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I thought it was like a website for like, like the Wall Street Journal or something like that. But no, it's actually a blog for a real estate website. So, but anyways, it was by this person named Aaron Ginsberg, and I'll read a little bit of what they said. So they said, commuters should now feel more secure waiting for the 1 train at 191st Street subway station. This weekend, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority installed new barriers on the edge of the platform at Washington Heights Station as part of a pilot program aimed at improving safety and preventing people from falling onto the tracks. The station is the first of 4 to get the barriers at the program. And, and they were nice enough to actually also add a video that the MTA provided. That's also like not it's I forgot what it's called, but it's you can't search for it. You have to click on the link. So, but I have the link ready, so we can watch the video and we can I guess talk about how secure we feel with these barricades.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Whoa!
How many seconds? 10 seconds. That was 5 seconds. What you thinking about?
And then you're supposed to stay still for the closing down.
Yeah, I don't know who the fuck that's supposed to protect. Yeah, it's not even slide. It's not even like a sliding barricade. It just takes off the amount. It actually makes it worse for people. And now you get to wait for somebody to step in a certain part of the platform, and then you get to push them instead. So, and I know how crowded that station gets. Like that was obviously like I guess at the middle of the night or something. But yeah, I don't see how that's gonna save anybody. If anything, it's gonna make it worse. And now you get to push people into the barricade and use it as a weapon if you want to. So bang somebody's head against it. Some homeless man's gonna probably do that to somebody eventually. And yeah.
Yeah. Like the one thing that had me thinking was like, I guess you said it that's like a really popular station that a lot of people get off at. Or yeah, it's like, people, for example, like waiting on the sides. Like it's like now you don't even have an option because now you have a barricade. And then on top of that, it's like, let's say, there are people that are, that are dickheads that, don't move to the side, that just want to bum rush and get in.
Yeah.
Where can you go up? Where can you go and leave now since there is a barricade? Now you're going to have to go and squeeze yourself through the barricade. And then on top of that, I feel like if it really does get like that crowded, I feel like there's going to be like that one person or that group of people that they're just going to be waiting in front of the barricade, I guess, to like be able to be in front of the crowd. And then I don't know.
Yeah, and I can already see people going to be sitting on the barricade, accidentally fall over into the tracks from sitting on the barricade.
Yeah.
So, like, I really don't know who it's supposed to protect. It's not even long enough. Like, if it was long enough and it went to, like, where the doors stop, then I can understand, like, how it could be kind of safe. But,
yeah.
they just... Yeah, it's not even, like I said, it's not long enough to protect anybody. It's just like putting a half wall somewhere and being like, oh, this wall is going to protect you from the outside.
Yeah.
When most of it is still open, so.
Mm-hmm. I think it might actually also, for something like an issue like this, when it comes to like maybe overcrowding, I think it also might be like a case-by-case thing. Because, for example, like for me, I usually take the stations that I usually take are either York Street or High Street, right? Like I'll post a photo of like what York Street is on the inside. It's literally just one like long hall, and it goes two ways. It either goes further into Brooklyn or into Manhattan. And when I tell you like it's in Dumbo, and so Dumbo, it used to like it wasn't trendy before, like. Back like before maybe 2015, around that time, like before, shit was just like abandoned factories. The only reason you had to go there was because you had a reason to go there. It wasn't, you weren't going to walk the bridge or go to, what is it, the Brooklyn Bridge Park. There was none of that. That was what the station was built for. If you actually wanted to do something like do stuff, it was J Street, because that station is huge. So now there's like a whole bunch of tourists like just packed in York Street. Like literally, like every time I have to enter the station, I have to like dodge tourists. Now there's like, because there's tourists, now there's homeless that are begging. They're begging at the front of at the station outside. They're begging in the middle of like the hall. And then on top of that, now there's migrants, selling stuff, and like they'll just stand in front of you like in the hall, like trying to sell you stuff. And it's like I get it, like it's like you're suffering a lot, but it's like that right there, that's a safety hazard. Like I'm just waiting for the day that it's gonna be so crowded that someone's just going to fall on the tracks, because there's only one exit. It's so narrow, but like I don't know. It's like we don't need like barricades for like a station like that. It's like we actually need like people to, tell like, stop standing in the middle of stuff, like keep the traffic moving.
More people and more trains.
More people, more trains, yeah. Not just a fucking barricade.
The overcrowding only happens when trains don't come at a fast enough pace. So,
Oh yeah.
so like there's certain lines that run every 10 to 12 minutes, no matter what, the G train being one of them, the R train being another one of them. And because of that, if you take the G train, you know how crowded the G train can get.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yet they have the L line that runs pretty much every 4 to 5 minutes, pretty much all day until midnight. So although the L train does get crowded, it's not as bad because they run trains frequently on that line.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like I think it's like it's an issue that comes into like multiple fronts, because it's definitely like schedule wise, like with delays and all that. But then at the same time, I guess for lack of better words, it's also like, you have to have a reason to be in the station. I don't think that if you're, especially for like a small narrow station, if you're there just to like sell stuff, or even if you're homeless, I get it, like you're struggling, you're trying to make ends meet, but there's simply just stations that, like right now with the increasing population, it's simply not safe to have people that simply aren't there to just take the train and go to where they have to go. And I don't know, I feel like it should be more than just barricades. It should be like maybe like more security, or at least like some sort of like, I guess, a designated like, I don't know, like a police squadron or something, just to make sure that, because it's a safety issue. It's not just, kicking the homeless out or making sure like there aren't people selling stuff. It's like, it's a safety issue.
That's where you had the issue of the NYPD and City Hall butting heads. Like in certain ways, City Hall doesn't allow the police to do their job, especially as it relates to transit. So their hands are pretty much tied. They're not going to deal with all that because somebody's going to see that they did something wrong, even if they didn't. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to want to deal with that. And that's why we have part of the issues in the MTA that we have now is because police feel like they can't do anything. And the MTA doesn't really want to fund. They want to fund for fare evasion, but they don't want to fund for customer safety. So except for doing dumb shit like this, that doesn't even work. So yeah, it's funny how you mentioned like migrants as it like relates to the subway. Eric Adams actually is starting to try to put a 60-day limit on shelters for like how long they could stay, which I can see what he's trying to do, but that brings the question, what's going to happen to the migrants when they do ultimately get evicted? Like, where do they go? How do they support their families? There's a lot of children, specifically that's what I'm worried about. There's a lot of children that won't have a place to sleep in New York City. Mm-hmm. So I found that, like I said, to be interesting. From what the Wall Street Journal, according to Wall Street Journal, there's been at least 55,000 migrants that are under the care of Eric Adams. So, that's a lot of people to like go homeless pretty much in New York City.
Yeah. Like, I think I read somewhere, and I'll post a quick photo of like the article I'm thinking of. But paraphrasing, I think something similar is also happening in Colorado, in a town in Colorado that's pretty much like that. There's pretty much like a deadline that's saying like, we're cutting services for the migrants. There's even like a bill for unpaid like hospital services that they're asking the federal government to pay up to, because the migrants couldn't pay for the hospital bills to be treated. And so I don't know. It's heartbreaking seeing how like this federal issue is not just hurting, just New York City. It's also hurting like it's something happening like everywhere. Yeah, and I don't know. It's pretty much like we're doing everything we can, but it's like what's the federal government even doing? Like, what? Just sending more like money abroad? And so I think it just further shows that like there's shit happening here. Like, but
like for me, the thing that bothers me is politicians are using these migrants as political pawns. Mm-hmm. They don't really care about them. They're just trying to get elected one way or another.
Yeah.
They're trying to help them to get reelected, and then some people are trying to get rid of them to get reelected. So, like, you know, Abbott was the first one to use them as political pawns when he sent them to New York when they first crossed the border.
Yeah.
So, like, it's things like that that bother me for the most part. Especially, like I said, there are children involved.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But I don't know. One thing that I guess this might sound kind of like messed up, but in a way, I'm kind of like impressed with like Abbott's tactic of doing that, because I feel like it shows that how big of a problem this really is with our borders not being secure. I guess like the amount of the influx of migrants that are able to come into Texas, because I feel like regardless whether Abbott was sending them to New York and all these other places, they were still entering Texas no matter what. So that problem was already there. He's just, you know, in a way it's kind of like, okay, this is what we're dealing with, you deal with them. And in a way it's kind of like, you know, as here in New York, like, damn, like, okay, I feel it, like, but I think now it's like, damn, like, you know, okay, what are we gonna do about this, you know? And it is a federal issue, and it's like, what the hell is the federal government doing right now? Like, it's like yeah, like I love talking shit about Mayor Adams, just like the next guy, but it's like, come on, like, this guy's just like, he's only like the mayor of New York. Like, what more do you expect him to do? This is literally like above his pay grade. He's not mayor of like the U.S. He's literally mayor of New York City. Like, what more do you want him to do aside from, like, you know, going to Mexico and and having talks or whatnot, or, you know, partying in nightclubs? Like, what else do you want him to do?
Yeah, it definitely is a federal issue, and right now it seems like the federal government has just left it up to the states to try to deal with the issue and fight among themselves pretty much.
Yeah.
So, along with Stephen Colbert not knowing what he's talking about, we also don't know what we're talking about. You know, we're just out here to, you know, give information and give our opinions. You know, obviously it doesn't mean anything. Everybody has their own opinion, and yeah, we're not journalists. Like, I'm just doing this because this is what I like doing, talking about stuff that interests me. So,
yeah, no, yeah, like, I agree. Like, I definitely don't think I personally have the credentials to consider myself a journalist, but I am an individual with opinions, and, you know, just like from like the Stephen Colbert show, it's, you know, certain people have their opinions, and it's on, you know, it's broadcasted with, you know, with giant crews and channels, and, you know, I mean, I guess this is our humble, you know, window of, like, you know, this is what I'm thinking, and, you know, hopefully, you know, it's the same for you. Like,
yeah, I just think, like, it's better for everybody to, like, in a way, to talk about their thoughts, because it leads to more conversations about things that we may disagree on, which can lead to better solutions in the future instead of us being so divisive. So
yeah,
I definitely do think that this is a great thing that we're doing, and it's something that I look forward to doing every week. And in doing this, I get to learn more about myself and change my thoughts patterns and see things from other points of view, which I think is important.
Yeah, that's pretty much beautifully kept. Like, that's exactly what I hope this channel, a part of this channel, has. And with that, I think this is a good time to wrap up. What do you think?
Yeah, you know, we talked about a lot of interesting things. You know, I got to, like, you know, challenge my own beliefs on certain ideas, so that was good. And yeah, once again, thoughts and prayers go out to the servicemen and women who serve and protect this country, giving us the freedom that we have. We're only able to do this because our country is a free country. I'm able to talk about the government because our country is a free country. So yeah. I respect everybody that serves for this country.
Yeah, it is a privilege what we have.
Yeah. So.
All right. So, I'm Larry X.
I'm Red and Blue. This is PCP Podcast,
And we'll see you next time.
Yep.
Take care.
Adios.